Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dark Legends of Calradia. I am going to be reading all of the Dark Legends of Calradia that the Blood Fountain has to offer. I decided to put this in its own separate video because it would take almost an entire video to read it otherwise. So let's start and just go down the list. All of these, I believe, are things that you can actually find and interact with in the game itself, so they're a lot more than just fluff. It's best for me to read them now, so that way if I need to I can go back and look at them later and find out if there's any hints. Although I believe for the most part there's not going to be any hints, because it's half here's what the thing is and half go figure out the other half for yourself. Quoth the Raven. Ah, yeah. Actually, I'll read the top first. Ah, yes, the Dark Legends of old Calradia. I know them well. There are items that may be acquired through various ways and means, and the old stories behind them are tales of true terror, anguish, and cruelty. Listen closely. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, but a bird in your head makes for a poor nest indeed. Such a phantasm once drove a great rider to Catania, and subsequent death. And the raven, never flitting, is still sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above his chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's who is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him, streaming, throws its shadows on the floor. And his soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Location of the raven is a mystery. Dupin is fond of enigmas. Perhaps he has the clue. Dupin is the character that is a companion that is unique to this mod that I would like to find at some point. Where I can actually find him, I'm not sure if he roams like all of the other companions or if he sits in a certain town. I don't know. I will probably find out in one of these Dark Legends. Oak, ash, and thorn. Of all the trees that grow so fair, old England to adorn, greater are none beneath the sun than oak, ash, and thorn. This dreadfully cheerful song has been sung throughout the land for 10 generations, until most of the people have forgotten the reason to the rhyme. Oak, ash, and thorn are free versatile antiquities of legend, created by a great artificer. Despite their obvious personality flaws, they desperately want to fit in somewhere in the world. No doubt you can bend their eagerness to your own purposes. Oak, ash, and thorn are ready to pull up their roots. Seek for them in the cities of cheese, fish, and iron. That is a hint that you will find the companions, they're actually companions, Oak, Ash, and Thorn, in the cities that are best known for cheese, fish, and iron. I don't know what cities those are. I will go and find that out myself, and possibly go look for them in the next time I record, because I think if they're easy enough to get, I will get them. Rasputin's Wickrem. Ah, I see you've noticed my emissary, known as the Mad Monk Grigory Yefimовich Rasputin was, in life, a great oculist and healer. But politics reared its ugly head, and at a dinner in his honor he was poisoned, shot, stabbed, clubbed, castrated, and finally drowned before dying. One must surely admire his survivability. And then what happened? Such a soul should not have been wasted, and so I found Rasputin in purgatory, and made him swear his soul to me in exchange for another chance at life as my voice in Calradia. He is almost ready to herald the destruction of the world, but he needs a company to travel with. If you prove yourself worthy enough to guide him, you may take him with you. What is everything to someone and nothing to everyone else? This answer is everything to Rasputin. The Khergits, it is said, are fond of such riddles. So I'm guessing we need to ask the Khergits about this riddle and see who knows the answer. Sounds like fun. And then we can get Rasputin as another companion. The Rising Sun. Long ago there was a warrior from a faraway land, known only as the Easterner. His strange armor and weapons were said to be magical artifacts, endowing him with the mastery of the arts of war. He conquered what are now known as the territories of Nords, Rodoks, and Vagers, but with but a small band of soldiers at his command. His armor became as red as the dawn, and his weapons were polished to a mirror shine with the blood of his enemies. He named them the Rising Sun, and they became a symbol for great fear and power, even after his rule, until the other nations conquered his lands and destroyed his memory. Where he could no longer lift his largest sword, the warrior hid his equipment in his 3 favorite cities before disappearing and out into obscurity. So I'm guessing a Nordic territory, a Rodok territory, and a Vagar territory. They say cities instead of villages, so I'm guessing they're going to be the capital cities, is where his armor is going to be. Any details on it, I have no clue, so it'll probably be difficult to find. Let me take another drink before I continue. The Black Knight. The Black Knights and Dark Hunters once terrorized the lands, much of the same way the Necromancers do now. Many a village was burned, and many a caravan waylaid. The civilized peoples finally rallied together to stamp out their armies and raze their stronghold, Dorak Keep, entirely to the ground along with their memory. The Dark Hunter's leather has long since wasted away, but the remnants of the Black Knight's black plate still remain and can rarely be found in the markets of the land. I believe I found one of those in a market at one point, but I could not buy it. That's basically saying it is possible to buy bits and pieces of the full set, which I will eventually do over time. That just requires money. Medusa's Blood. The legend of Medusa's blood is a heroic one. Medusa, the only mortal Gorgon, was slain by Perseus at the behest of King Polydeuces, as a gift to the goddess of Athena. The legend says Pegasus, a winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden giant, sprang forth from Medusa's blood. But of Medusa's own weapons the legends seldom speak. It is known her head was given to Athena, and used as a shield and sigil to protect against evil, but her bow and quiver were never officially recovered. It said her arrows were hideously poisonous, and a mere prick of the finger meant a most painful death. Medusa had 2 immortal sisters. Perhaps one of them knows where her heirlooms lie. Gorgons are said to enjoy the heat of the desert lands, meaning probably find them somewhere in the Khajiit territory. There's a lot of things about the Khajiit, especially since the next thing is Khan's Fist. The legend of Khan's Fist is not long in the telling. Genghis Khan was a diabolical master of military horse lords in the desert lands, known for maintaining superiority through the use of mounted archery and brilliant tactics. Due to his bloodthirsty desire for none other than world superiority from the saddle, the Khajiit Khanate are still formidable foes, and the raiders of the steppes are widely feared. Yes, they are. I actually really hate fighting them. Sanjar Khan, the lord of the Khajiit Khanate, is in direct line of descendants from Genghis Khan. He is said to possess great powers in his hands. Does that mean I'd have to kill Sanjar Khan to get the Khan's Fist? If so, this Let's Play might have just added on an extra 30 parts. Oh boy. There is also the alchemist Adamant. I believe in a previous video I met the alchemist and his Adamant, and he wanted a huge amount of money to duel him, and I would probably get one shot and killed by the Adamant, but that's a sad point. The legend of the alchemist Adamant bears telling, though it is less dark than the others, which is quite surprising. Alchemists are loners and purists of the dark arts, who focus on artifice and the preservation of life. The bladed weapons and armor of an alchemist are created from the elements around them, even the air. Tell me more. They refer to them as adamant, and they are deadly sharp, known down to a single molecule of thickness upon the edge of the blade, and can cut through nearly anything, with the speed seldom rivaled by any forged sword. It is plain why fencing is the preferred style of fighting with adamant. Alchemists are notorious duelers, and duels between alchemists are often over in a few seconds, if not the blink of an eye. Duel an alchemist for the secret of adamant. They can rarely be found in taverns. Meaning I'd have to somehow kill an alchemist who could kill me in a few seconds, or less. That'll be fun. Misfortunate Fortunato. The legend of poor, misfortunate Fortunato is an old tale of betrayal and revenge. A lush and a scoundrel, Fortunato gravely insulted his friend, a Montresor of questionable sanity, and in the midst of a carnival season, lured by the thirst for wine, he met a lonely and untimely end. But as you well know, death is not always the end of the story. Tortured by the injustice of his demise, Fortunato still haunts the crypt of his fatal oubliette, eternally dwelling on the past. Some dungeons hold deep stairs and dark secrets. Seek the Montresor coat of arms and bring your strongest spirits. So, in one of the castles that has the Montresor, I'm guessing there will be a Count Montresor, or Lord Montresor. In his dungeon, there will possibly be Fortunato inside. That might be something I end up doing soon-ish. The Horseman's Curse. The legend of the Horseman's Curse is a tale of evil, punishment, and terror. The horseman was a ruthless baron who slaughtered his enemies and punished his own people with equal tyranny. Upon ordering the hanging of a mere child accused of petty theft, an angry mob overpowered him, losing many of their own lives in the process, and finally beheaded him roughly with a scythe. They beheaded also his horse, and left both of their bodies out for the wolves, but the horseman's head was buried under an unmarked stone in the cemetery. And then what happened? Such deeds have their ways of coming back to haunt those involved, and soon the spectre of the horseman returned, swift upon the back of his phantom steed, the bloody stump of his neck gleaming with blood between his shoulders. English. The horseman thereafter terrorized the townspeople and beheaded many in his own turn, until a schoolteacher discovered it was his missing head the spectre wanted. He dug up the putrid skull and presented it to the horseman, who took it and rode away for the last time. The horseman's curse may rarely happen upon anyone who falls in battle to their death at or above level 13, giving them a second chance at haunting Calradia. You will get the horseman's set if you manage to actually get killed at level 13 or above. Of course, you don't always get killed in battle either, so it is really just a chance occurrence. The Undying Sword of Vlad Dracula. Vlad Tepes. Vlad the Impaler. Count Dracula. However he is named, Vlad Dracula. Is that supposed to be Il or Vlad III Dracula of Wallachia? Was a monstrous ruler of the desert lands. It is said that he drank blood, and he was known for the brutal impaling of his enemies on long pikes set before his gate, or he would taunt them and even eat dinner in their presence. His reign of terror continued for 100 years, until a great beast slew him in the midst of a storm with a great spear. His fiefs were forfeit and his treasures plundered, and the bodies that adorned his front door were properly laid to rest, but his sword, a horrific creation of human bone, went missing for many years. And then what happened? The sword finally reappeared at a place known as the Pillar of Blood, with a remarkable life of its own, determined to slay anyone who approached. Many have tried to fight it, dispel it, and exorcise it, and all have perished. There it still stands sentinel. Perhaps it is waiting for its master who will never come. Or perhaps it was put there by someone powerful enough to animate such a weapon. It is truly a diabolical mystery. Seek the Pillar of Blood at a village in the desert lands, but beware its bite. So basically one of the one of the Khergit villagers will have the Pillar of Blood and Vlad's sword, and if you can defeat the sword, I'm guessing you get it. Hunter's Knight. The legend of the Hunter's Knight is one of regret and woe. A destroyer of evil and a scientist. Once there was a great exorcist and a crusader for his faith. Rendered immortal by some blessing, unless an unnatural death should take him, he would make even darkness fear the night. In his travels he met a woman and fell in love, and thus became vulnerable, and was bitten by an evil beast. And then what happened? Well, I took a drink next, that's what happened. Though he used his curse to destroy many foes, he had become a creature of darkness himself, as one will that lives in the dark. In the end, his beloved shot him with a bolt, dipped in the antidote for his illness. But the cure was not immediate, and enraged, he lost control and slew her. A man again, though broken, his blessing became his curse, to live on, cured by she who was now dead by his own hand. He forsook his calling, and retired into obscurity, far from civilized lands. Churchwell, the peninsula in the far northwest. It is said the saddest of songs are sung there. So some landmass of a peninsula in the northwest will have something that continues that story. I don't entirely know what that story will bring, however, which will be interesting. Lamia's Lament. Lamia was born the daughter of King Belus of Egypt. Legend has it that Lamia had an affair with the god Zeus and bore him 8 children. That's a lot of children for an affair. When the goddess Hera, Zeus's wife, discovered the affair, it was kind of difficult not to when they had 8 children, she became enraged, destroyed their children, all 8 of them, and cursed Lamia to be the monstrous mother of all vampires. Driven insane with grief and bloodlust, Lamia began devouring other children, until Zeus gave her the ability to remove her eyes and thus free herself from the memories of her dying offspring. 'Cause that makes sense. Lamia has a lair at the ends of the earth, where she lures the unwary to their doom. Forbidden fruit marks the way. Apple trees? Because, you know, that's the whole original Adam and Eve story. They ate that apple, that was a forbidden fruit, and that's how it started. At the ends of the earth, so it would be in the mountains somewhere, but I have no clue besides that. See what I meant about they give you like half of where to go, and then the other half is figure it out for your own dang self? Yeah. But I will. I'll probably use assistance of looking it up, but I will. The Wolfsbane Pack. Oh goody, the laugh with it. Even better. Le Chevalier C. Augustin Dupin is a clever fellow who has trouble seeing what is right under his nose. After abandoning the search for the purloined letter, Dupin turned his ear to the legend of the land, and has discovered a correlation between many of the old tales. He became certain of the existence of a necromancer of extreme technological ingenuity. I could verify personally that he is not entirely incorrect in that assumption, but I wouldn't want to spoil all the gory facts for you. Dupin can be found, even now, at one of the taverns of the land, drinking heavily, talking instably, and pondering over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. That is a hint that, hey, there's Dupin, and Dupin knows a lot. Dupin will basically be a hint guide for certain things, and even help you get certain things. Just entirely, and you might not be able to get them without him. The Crossbones Craft. Voodoo. It is one of the most sinister of the black arts, whereas Corporea is a divine curse. The true root of lycanthropy is voodoo. Crossbones, a powerful witch doctor of old, was the first to perform the ghastly rituals with the blood of the hellhound Orthrus, brother of Cerberus. which imbued him with the horrific disease he soon passed on to others. He would ambush his victims at night as a great white werewolf and bite them, leaving them alive so he could document their changes later. In the Nordland, small children are told not to stray away from the house at night, or crossbones will catch them. So, Nordic villages at night? Like, go to Nordic villages at night and you might find crossbones? Now, there is a thing. Crossbones and Lamia are two different story trees, and I'm not entirely sure how we'll do this. I might go to one and keep a save of when I first did that, and then go to the other, because you can become a vampire, or you can become a werewolf. And I think you might even be able to become something else entirely, which requires a whole different thing. I'm not entirely sure. I think maybe a lich. Again, not 100% sure. But you can only become one because you cannot become the other. But I will still try to do both of them. The plagues of the sun and moon. Oh. Well, there we go. Disease is spreading in Calradia, and soon none shall be untouched by the hand of pox. Plague, cruel and unforgiving, can also be used as a weapon. Two plagues are much older than the others. They are equally powerful, equally devastating, and equally rare. Only one may be acquired, and only once, since each is permanent and grants immunity to the other. When you are ready, and you must be ready, choose well. I will not choose either right now. I thought I might have to find Lamia or crossbones for that, but apparently I could just do it right now. Granted, I don't want to, but yeah. The gifts of the gods. Calradia is a place of myth and legend, touched by even the gods themselves. There exist items of great power and divine origin, but they are well hidden, even by the sands of time. I certainly could not tell you where they lie, and many have passed out of even the memory of the people. That's not helpful at all. That literally says, by the way, there's other things that I don't even know about, and I'm the all-powerful, all-knowing blood fountain. The Plague of Red Death. The legend of the Plague of the Red Death is a macabre tale. Long ago, a deadly plague ravaged the land. A group of nobles, out of pride and vanity, walled themselves in a grand estate rather than chance contagion by helping their people. Amidst their revelry, the clock finally struck midnight, and the Red Death himself appeared, dressed in costume as a victim of illness. One by one, the nobles fell, proving he plays no favorites. The Red Death is tired of chasing lost souls due to grave robbers. If he becomes angry enough, there is no telling what he might do. Meaning, if you grave rob enough, there will be even someone else to meet you. And I wanted to get most of my money out of grave robbing. So I will probably meet the Red Death when I am not prepared to. And lastly, here there be monsters. While there are higher powers, there are also deeper ones, forces even I hesitate to name, for evil is nothing if not self-serving. Yet heed well, there are darker darkness than I, in shadowy stories as yet unwritten in this land. Great, so there's things more evil than you that even you can't name. Fun. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the Necronomicon and the Skeleton Key real quick. Ah, the Book of Evil, the Black Heart of Necromancy. It contains all of the spells and recipes that are the flesh and blood of our dark art. And without it, a necromancer is essentially powerless. A replacement does not come cheaply, however. Bring me a human corpse and diamonds. Yeah. And last, the Skeleton Key. Locks the key. Did we? I bet you're missing it pretty bad right about now. I suppose I can make another for human corpse and gold. Ah. So that's basically if you accidentally delete yours, or most likely not delete, but if you are like playing on hardcore, by that I mean you can't go back and load a save, and you get captured by by looters or bandits or something, and you lose your Necronomicon or Skeleton Key, that is the way to get them back. But that has been the Dark Legends of Calradia. I'll think about the Plagues of the Sun and Moon, and I'll also look what I can do about some of these. Probably Oak, Ash, and Thorn will be the first one, and hopefully finding Dupin somewhere. Because all of them I would want. I'm not sure if Oak, Ash, and Thorn require any more work besides finding them. Probably, but that's beside the point. So that is all for now. Till next time. See you later.